Hello everyone, welcome back to Chopsed Girls channel. For today's video, I'm going to make a Chops Education Corner episodes, and it is all about the famous short stories and a short analysis and the literary elements on those on these specific short stories. So here it goes. So our first short story for today is entitled The Last Leaf by O. Henry. O. Henry is a very famous writer. So, before we're going to talk all about the story, we're going to have the overview of who is O. Henry. So, O. Henry, pseudonym of William Sidney Porter, original name William Sidney Porter, born on September 11, 1862 in Greensboro, North Carolina, in US, died June 5, 1910, New York, New York. American short story writer whose tales romanticize the commonplace, in particular the life of ordinary people in New York City. His stories express the effect of coincidence on character through humor, grim or ironic, and often had surprise endings, a device that became identified with his name and caused him critical favor when its bug had passed. So here it goes, the summary. So the last sleep takes place in Greenwich Village, a bohemian neighborhood in New York City, sometime in the nearly 20th century. The narrator remarks that the labyrinthine, winding street of the neighborhood make it an ideal home for artists, since debt collectors find the area difficult to navigate. So the story centers on Sue and Jansei, two young women, artists who meet in a restaurant, discovered their shared taste in art, and decided to live and work together. They share an inexpensive studio at the top of a rundown apartment building. When winter falls, a stranger named Mr. Pneumonia visits the neighborhood, and people begin to fall ill. Jansei too becomes grievously ill with a case of pneumonia. A doctor visits and tells Sue and Jansei has a 1 in 10 chance of living, and that her only chance is one to live, since depression can be as fatal as pneumonia. Without wanting to live, the doctor's medicine will have no effect and she won't regain her health. The doctor wonders if Jansei is depressed about something in particular. Sue mentions her unfulfilled ambition to paint the Bay of Naples, but the doctor dismisses this and asks if Jansei is depressed over a man. Sue tells him firmly that his suspension is wrong and there is no man in Jansei's life. Sue sits by Jansei's bed, working on an illustration for a magazine, while Jansei counts the leaves falling from the vine outside her window. When the last leaf falls to the ground, Jansei asserts she will die. Sue tells Jansei that she's being silly and that the doctor has given her a good chance of recovery, which is a lie. She promises Jansei that she will buy more food and wine after she sells the illustration, but Jansei is unresponsive to Sue's attempts to cheer her up, and she asks Sue to draw in the other room. Jansei says that she wants to turn loose my hold on everything and go sailing down just like one of those poor, tired leaves. Sue goes to visit her downstairs neighbor, an old alcoholic and unsuccessful artist named Berman, who earns a small income posing as a model for artists in Greenwich Village. Berman, who has tried and failed his whole life to paint a masterpiece, is fiercely protective of Sue and Jansei. When Sue tells Berman about Jansei's fixation on the last leaf, he is contemptuous of what he calls her foolishness, but he agrees to come up to their studio to pose for Sue's illustration. While Jansei sleeps, Sue and Berman look solemnly at the ivy vine, and then Sue begins her work. There is a violent storm during the night, but in the morning, when Sue pulls up the shade covering their window, the last leaf is still clinging tenaciously to the vine. Jansei was sure that it would have fallen during the night, but she says that it will fall today instead, and when it does, she will go too. She begs her to reconsider. Sue begs her to reconsider, rather, but Jinsei is silent. The narrator notes how lonely it is to face death and says that this depression possessed Jinsei increasingly as one by one the ties that bound her to friendship and to earth were lost. After another night of wind and rain fails to shake the last leaf from the vine, Jinsei sits up and asks for soup in the mirror, remarking that something has made that last leaf stay there to show me how wicked I was. It is a sin to want to die. A little later, Jinsei mentions her ambition to paint the Bay of Naples. The doctor visits and gives Jinsei a good prognosis, even chances, predicting that she will recover. The doctor tells the woman that he has to visit another patient. Berman has caught pneumonia and needs to be taken to the hospital. The next day, Sue tells Jinsei that Berman has died. The janitor found him sick in his room, dressed in cold, wet clothes as though he'd been out in the storm. In his room, Berman had a ladder and painting materials, which reveals that he had stayed out all night, painting the image of the leaf onto the wall so that Jinsei would think the last leaf had survived the storm. Finally, Sue remarks, Berman has painted his masterpiece. The end. So that's the end of the short story, The Last Leaf by O. Henry, and it is all about the two women, which is an artist in Greenwich Village in New York City, in which uh, Jinsei got sick, and she is relying on the ivy vine that she can see in her window, that if the leaves of the vine will all fall, then she too will die. So in that perception of Jinsei, Mr. Berman uh, made his greatest masterpiece, which is the last leaf, which Mr. Berman painted the last leaf so that it will gives a hope, it will gives a chances for Sue to live, and no, Jansei rather, it gives a chances for Jansei to live, and that eventually happened, that Jansei become better and go on with her life. And of course, the setting and context. The story is set in Greenwich Village, New York City, during a pneumonia epidemic in early 1900s. And the narrator in point of view, the story is narrated from a third-person perspective. The point of view stays closest to Sue. And of course, the protagonist and antagonist. The protagonist and antagonist. The protagonists are Sue and Jansei, who are simultaneously each other's antagonists, as Sue wishes for Jansei to live, while Jansei wishes Sue would leave her to die. So that was what happened into the story. So the climax. So the story reaches its climax when Jansei learns that the last leaf was in fact painted on by Berman, who therefore sacrificed his life to save hers. Yes, that was the climax when Jansei, when Sue tells Jansei that the last leaf is actually not real, it was painted by Mr. Berman, which gives Sue a chance, a hope to go on with her life. Foreshadowing: when Berman proclaims to Sue that he will paint a masterpiece one day, his statement foreshadows his brave and selfless act of painting the last leaf. So when the first time Mr. Berman says that foreshadows on how Mr. Berman painted the last leaf for Sue and Jinsei, the two women upstairs. Of course, the symbolism, vine leaves symbolizes the life, symbolizes life, because the vine leaves gives hope and gives another chance of living to Jansei. The broth, it symbolizes health, of course, because when Jansei noticed that the last leaf didn't fall, so he then realized that there must be something in the why the last leaf clinging tenaciously to the vine, so he must leave. So that's when that's when she asked broth from Su and the mirror. So Bay of Naples, so of course that's the ambition of Jansei, then that he wanted to be he wanted no sorry she wanted to be better, because she still have to paint the Bay of Naples. So moral of the story, this is it. This is the most the most important part of all the stories that everybody everyone tackled, or everyone should know every part of the story. Well, first, what is the moral of the story? A moral is type of message that teaches a reader a life lesson, such as what is right or wrong, or how to make decisions, or how to treat other people. So that is the moral of the story. It's more concept about right or wrong, or good and evil. So the first moral is, it is true that a real friend is one who helps you in need, because in the story, Zu and Jinsei were good friends, and of course, artist, both an artist. So in the story, Su never leave Jinsei alone. So she encouraged Jinsei in order for her to have a hope to go on living. So that's what friends are for. The chief message that this story gives is the spirit of sacrifice we need to have in our life. The old artist Berman sacrificed his life so that Jansei could live. So of course, we notice in the story that Mr. Berman sacrifices his own life in order to paint that last leaf into the wall, so that Jansei could have a hope to go on her life. And that actually give Jansei a hope. And the third one is, the last leap is simplifying that you should have hope. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. And faith, because you don't know where and when in your death. Just like what happened to Jansei and Mr. Biman's situations. Like, of course, in our real life situation, we need to have, in every situation, we need to find some good in everything, in every we will not say bad situation, in every not good situation, in every unfortunate situations, or in every time we suffered, we need to find something good in it, in order uh, for us to continue on living. We need to have hope, faith, because we don't know if when was our time, like the life of Su, Jansei, and Mr. Berman. And the last one is, belief is powerful agent of change. So of course, when you believe, there is a miracle. Yes, that's true. So this is maybe the most prominent message of this short story. The belief is a powerful agent of change. When you believe you can do something, when you believe that everything will be okay, everything will be somewhat like became better, yeah, then that would eventually happen. Jansei got better because she believed it, and Mr. Berman was able to paint his ultimate masterpiece driven by his belief in its purpose, to give Jansei the will to live. So of course, Mr. Berman, the belief of Mr. Berman is to to give Jensei the will to live. So of course, and eventually, he made his masterpiece. And that's all. This is the reference, not all the reference that I put it in here. So you'll just see some of the photos I just get in Google. I hope you learn something from it. I hope you learn even if a little bit of it. And once again, all the information here is not from me personally. I just search it out in Google or on any sites that I found the information and put it in one place, and that's for your convenience. So I hope if you want to learn something more, you have to just search it out. Just make sure that you're in the right site and you got the right informations. And I hope I'll see you next time. And remember, don't stop educating yourself. Bye.